In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Oh, what you sipping on there, sir?
Little G&T, my friend.
Oh boy,
G&T.
definitely. Gin and testosterone, just
Ooh,
straight up.
yeah. Let me tell your brother.
brother.
This will put
So
some brother on your brothers.
this will, yes, just stack them up like cordwood. That's an intro, my friends. Thank you for coming and hanging out and putting up with more nonsense here on another pointless automotive podcast. How are you, Chadwick? How's your gin and testosterone?
Emphasis on thank you for coming. But good, man. Hitting me right in the testes. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Yeah, I feel like I do need to get what's the one that's got a lot of commercials? It's like one of those nonsense male enhancement recipes. It's like now with Testafin, and it's got like a the big hurt Frank Thomas like doing all the commercials.
I think this is an instance of targeted advertisements, Frank. So
Oh, could be. Yeah. It's all,
I don't know what you've been Googling.
it too. Yeah, it just I don't know. But yeah, I've been grinding those into pipes and just smoking the actual natural male enhancement pills with Testafin.
I thought you had to snort them through your penis, kind of like an elephant.
Oh, like you just they call that voring, I believe. I think that's the thing. Yeah, I don't know if it goes straight to the trout.
Straight to the main vein.
Right, exactly. Yes. Just go full trunk. I haven't considered that, but that might level it. I might level that up. So thank you. I will definitely consider sandy cheeks cockvoring that. In lieu of that, I maybe in some regards a related note to natural male enhancement. I wanted to talk about good cars for people that hate cars.
I like it.
Which I don't even know how this came up to me. I was listening the other day, the Modest Mouse's Good News for People Who Like Bad News, which was a good album. But there are lots and lots of people who have different thoughts and feelings about cars and what makes a good car, or what even just makes a car that they would want to have, as compared to us, and probably as compared to most people that are listening along here at home or in their car or in their terrible automobile. I don't know, probably not a terrible automobile, but there's lots of cars for people that have different things that they want out of their cars versus what we want out of our cars, right? And so for people that either just don't care about cars or have some weird concept of what they want out of a car, I wanted to just talk about what cars those people would want. What are good cars for people that either don't like cars or just have a poor perception on what makes a good car a good car?
I mean, I like this topic because we take for granted like what we think is cool about an automobile. We understand, and I know our listener base, because one of us, we just don't see the world the same way as the average consumer of automobiles, right? They need a point A to B appliance. It's going to probably be no drama. It's not going to be anything special. It's just going to always work. It's going to have low running costs, ideally, which isn't always the case. It's going to have all these things. It's going to be newer. A lot of people are like shopping tech. Like I need to have Apple CarPlay. I need to have heated seats. I need to, all those things. Those are what they're shopping for, appliance features or extra features, not necessarily the bones of the vehicle. But I think it's a good topic. And I think I could just say Tesla and we could close down the podcast tonight. But there are a lot of cars out there, man. And we went back and forth a little bit on this one. I didn't take any notes. So we're just going to.
No, what are notes?
Shoot from the Johnson and.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think is a good starting point for this discussion, Frank? What do you think? So what do you think a car that non-car people gravitate towards that just, for whatever reason, for non-car people, a good.
It depends. Like there's a couple of different ways to go. Cause I think there are cars that do well and they're good cars and they're worth owning, and non-car people will gravitate towards them,
Mhm.
and they should. And then there's other ones where same thought process, but they shouldn't, yet they still do, right? Like big Ultima energy is a thing, right? Like
Really is, yeah.
it really is. And so why is that, right? Is it just simply because you can get good lease deals, or you can get some relatively inexpensively off of a lease return or a rental car return, and you can get one, and the financing is easy? Probably, but like, are those inherently bad cars? I don't I don't think so. Are they fun to drive? No. Do they have CVTs that might blow up? Potentially.
Of course, yeah.
But they get decent gas mileage. They're not offensive looking. They're relatively roomy, relatively comfortable. Like, I don't think that's a bad car, even if it's like the bane of every car guy's existence, right? Like, if you want to pick a poster child for a car that like car guys don't like, it might be the Nissan Altima. I don't know.
I think you're right there. And like, it's easy to point to these cars from afar and be like, "Phew, these are just, there's no aspirations of greatness or coolness
Mhm.
to it." But to be honest, dude, the funny thing is like I went to Hawaii not too long ago and we got a
Yeah.
Sentra, a base level, like 2022
Yes.
Nissan Sentra. And I was laughing at it because I got in, it has a flat bottom steering wheel. And I'm like,
Ooh, sporty.
what is this? And it had fake carbon fiber printed on the plastic. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, this is ridiculous for a base model. Like, none of these things make sense. And then we drove the car, and you know what? Super easy to drive, never gave us any issues, good fuel economy. So, like you said about the Ultima, it's probably the same case. Like, there's some things that are laughable. And I know Ultimas have that image, like the bumper's got to be hanging off and they're coming up behind you doing 20 over the speed limit.
Mhm.
But man, some of these cars do work, and I think the Ultima is one of those cases, just like that Sentra. Like, it's funny, it's easy to poke fun of, but then when you live with it for a little while, you're like, this is a car. This is a car. I think
Yes.
that's about the extent
Yeah,
of it.
it's like a white label car. Like, it
Mhm.
works. And for people that's all they care about. Like, can I get it cheap? Is it going to cost me a ton of money? Is there some modicum of reliability? Like, even as screwy as Nissan has been over the last 20 years, as far as not actually being able to hold water when it comes to reliability, between the Jatco transmissions and catalytic converters being sucked back into the motor on some of those first and second gen Ultimas. Well, I guess it's all the third gen Ultimas, I guess, with the 2.5 liter.
That's right.
And a bunch of other stuff, right? The CEOs getting moved out of in a cello case into South America, whatever. They're still appealing to a consumer when, just to circle back on it, it's like a lot of it is funny. Like, oh, like automotive journalists are slaying XYZ car for whatever, like numb steering, or the NVH is a little harsh over rough pavement at 72 miles an hour. And it's like, people like us might care about that kind of thing, but clearly, like, not everyone does. Like, there's a lot of, how is the Dodge Challenger not only still on the market, nearly unchanged from when it came out in 08, but
Because
also the
fucking
number one
sweet.
selling car in, like, it's selling more in its class now than it ever has, which is bananas. So there's a lot that, like, you could just, like, our opinions, auto journalist opinions, magazines, and on and on and on, influencers. That's why a lot of these manufacturers, even though a lot of the people in the engineering and R&D, they're car people. That's why they don't care. That's why there's no more manuals. That's why we don't get station wagons. It's because it's like, car people don't spend money on this shit anyways. We'd rather just go buy another Miata. And so it's like, I don't know. So if you had a non-car person come
Mhm.
up to you and say, "Hey, I want something nice. That's a new, like, a nice car, maybe just a few years old or new, but nice. It's a car, sedan." What would you tell them? What would your answer be?
I don't think that answer has changed in the past 20 plus years. I think someone coming to me that wants something reliable, something, economical to run, I think they're going to get, and it's a size thing. Like, how big does your car need to be? If you just need,
Always
and now,
size thing.
yeah. I mean, size matters with cars and without
Etc.
cars. So the answer was always Civic or Accord or Camry or Corolla. You could always lay that out there. That was an easy pitch. But now it's like, well, I kind of need an SUV. I need to be up off the ground to haul the same amount of shit that a sedan can haul, And with that case, there's like the regular contenders, you still have CRVs and RAV4s, which are now the size of what the Land Cruiser used to be.
Right.
But it's ridiculous. But those things, I don't think those answers have changed in 20 something years. I think those are still, I would stand on those today and just be like, if you need a car, here you go.
I'd maybe toss like, Lexus ES.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is kind of the same deal, right? Just like the nicer version of that. If they're on more of a budget, then like, oh yeah, go get a Camry. As unsexy as that might be, but like for most people, they don't care. The other one is right now, if you can go get a new Prius at MSRP, that's like sort of for most people, it's like the perfect car. It's got a usable hatch, it's got a usable back seat, it gets obscene fuel economy, it's going to be crazy reliable. I think the new ones nobody's yanking catalytic converters out of anymore, so you got that going for you.
0 to 60 in 6 point something seconds, which is like unheard of for a Prius.
And even people that like aren't car people can appreciate that if you put the accelerator down, it does something, right? Like as you let off with saying Tesla, let's go home. That was, to their credit, like that was how they really made themselves in the market, with just push accelerator, car go fast. Even if the fit and finish isn't great, even if the brakes will kill you, even if it tells you it self drives and then it puts you into an abandoned Quiznos, whatever.
We got that subs.
Well, they had the subs. They no longer exist. But yeah, and then you said it at SUVs. If you had somebody who was like, hey, like what's like maybe like a cheap, like, hey, I got 10 grand to spend and it needs to be like a real deal SUV.
Oh,
what would be a good car for a non-car person there, or SUV, I should say?
10 grand. If you need an off-roady one, I mean, for non-car people, I don't think you can go wrong with like you can get an older RX, like a really old one, maybe with higher mileage. A lot of people would like that. CRVs, RAV4s are still on there for higher mileage examples. Bigger SUVs, you could probably get like a Nissan Armada for a good price. I know you can get.
I don't like those. I don't like those at all.
Infiniti,
I don't think they're reliable either.
How about an Infiniti QX4? I would fuck with one of those.
Okay.
With the tri-spoke wheels. I think those things look gorgeous. Those are cool.
Those the VQ.
Yeah, 5 to 6K all day.
Yeah. Those are good. I like a little bigger. I GMT 800. Suburban, like the one I've got. If you want like, and it's about as big as they get, but if you need something big-ish, the Suburbans are bigger than most people want. So they want like the Tahoes tend to go for more than the Suburban. So you can get a lot of Suburban for, 10 grand. And they're stone reliable. Parts are cheap. They're everywhere. You can run right that one. You can just run it right through the Quiznos, and come out the other side.
Jeep Cherokees all day. You can find those all over the price spectrum. Yep.
XJs, although it's been a minute since I've driven one. They're pretty, like the driving experience for a non-car person is kind of rowdy. Really, any Jeep product is.
Yeah, but you're getting it with the badge, right? It's like it's a Jeep thing, baby.
Well, how about that? Like, I think there's lots of cars. There's lots of cars that only exist because of people who think they're car people, but really aren't car people, and they end up with something that, like, on all measures, is kind of terrible, except for a badge and a perception of prestige and a perception of performance that just isn't there.
Are you talking about like a Mercedes-Benz CLA 250?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's not what I was getting at, but that's a good example, right? Where you get the new A220 or whatever, where it's costs more than a Honda Civic and will last a third of the length of time and cost triple the running costs. I know I was thinking more I was thinking of the maybe the Peacocker special, right? So your 2015 Maserati Ghibli sedan out there that somebody, it's got low miles. It's only got like 55,000 miles. I paid 30 grand for it, and it's like worth a quarter of that, and it's just terrible in all measures.
Kind of
Your
like a
aforementioned
what's it a BMW Alpina B7? It's like I'm buying $125,000 worth of car for 25K. What could be wrong with this deal? First maintenance bill 30K.
to be fair, those things actually drive magnificently once they're actually driving.
That's the biggest whence, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I mean, how many like all hat no cattle cars are there? I feel like there's a lot. Even a Jeep, even like a basic Jeep Wrangler with like the angry eyes mods
Oh,
and
God.
just stuff like that. And that car will maybe it's on 23 chrome 23s or something. It will never see dirt or rain or anything. But it's just somebody's daily. They put 100,000 miles in a pet. Like those cars are great on road. They are brutal to try and live with as a daily. Like they're just not up to the task.
We've talked about these two cars on the pod before. Is Dodge Dart, Chevy Cruze. You can get a modernish car for next to nothing, but there's a fucking reason. Like you will not have a reliable source of transportation. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a reliable source of transportation. There's this people's heads like always think newer car, it's going to last longer. It's going to need less maintenance. And it's not always true. And those two cars are absolute like perfect examples of that. You cannot buy one of those and put 200K. And I'm sure someone has, and maybe covers up the check engine light every time they drive. But there's very few times that you can buy one of those cheap and put 200K on it, big maintenance free. Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
I mean, Jaguar F-Pace. And here's the thing, most SUVs, I mean, and I say that by like most people, they'll buy an SUV because they feel like they need an SUV.
Yeah.
And they're not a car person necessarily, but they're like, okay, I need an SUV. I got 2.5 kids, and there's soccer practice and we have a dog. It's 32 pounds. And oh my God. So we have to have something huge. Get a minivan. Like we've bemoaned the loss of the minivan many a time here on the pod.
True.
But just like go get like a second or third gen Sienna and put 700,000 miles on it.
It won't even care. It won't care.
Yeah.
It'll do it.
Instead somebody go out and get like a gently used Jaguar F-Pace or something. And it's just like an absolute time and money suck, or like a GLE 450. It's just like, I don't know. The shiny object syndrome. And I whatever. I'm not immune to it. How many shiny objects am I purchasing all the time?
Right.
It's a different flavor, but I don't know. Like the allure of, I don't know. I don't want to call. I don't know. It's tricky to be like, a true car person thinks this, and a true car, like, we love shitty cars. That's like That's where we traffic. That's what we traffic in. But like, there's a lot of people that they think, oh, I got this cool new Maserati Ghibli. Like, I'm a car guy or gal. It's like, really? I don't know. Red flag.
Yeah, dude, and it's like the fact is like if you're buying a car for tech too, which I brought up earlier, a lot of people do, they cross shop like features. The problem is like those are the same
4 years later.
They change out their cell phone every year, right? So it's like with cars, you're gonna lose the long game playing that kind of strategy. But it's just it's horrible, and like the rest of the car is a piece of shit. But I've got Apple CarPlay. It's like, who gives a fuck? Your car is falling apart. Who cares about your infotainment? But yeah, it's tough. And I think people do actually pick their cars based on that. That's not even like a joking point. That's a reality, I think, in today's like car buying society. So I think you're right. I think for the non-car people, they're just looking for that car that's kind of reliable, affordable, and has features they want. I think those are the big 3 boxes.
Underrated. It's funny. I've made a quick list of like, what if somebody wants a real SUV? What if they want a fake SUV? Whatever. I was like, what if they want a fake taxi? If they were going to replicate a fake taxi? I have an answer here. I was thinking, do you remember the Lincoln MKTs? You remember what that thing is?
Yeah, that thing is absolutely hideous.
Oh, it's broken looking.
Fucking every one of those is a taxi. I've never seen one without the taxi tags
the
on
livery, the TCP on the
yeah,
like
every time.
they're all livery.
God,
So those are it's basically it's like if someone spray painted a Ford Flex black and left it in the sun, over baked it and it got all wilty.
Here's a quotable
cheap.
for you. That thing out asses a Honda Accord Cross Tour, which is a hard thing to pull off, but it out asses it, doesn't it? It's like got a huge derriere.
Yes. It's definitely pulling a trailer, even though it doesn't have a tow package. But
that's a good quote, right? Like to put on your car, like out asses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to say I think they all had the EcoBoost motor. So those all had the 3.5 turbo that was in like the Flex EcoBoost. So what is it, 365 horse, all-wheel drive, godforsaken, but like they're silly cheap. And I mean, they were up for, if they were doing taxi and livery service, they got to be like at least mildly reliable, right? Maybe
probably
not
spacious. They look like they got to be spacious based on that ass.
Exactly. Yeah. So if car person who's not a car person who's wants to do the fake taxi thing, it's not a bus.
Who buys Lincoln? Like I have so many questions about people who buy
livery service, and people in their late 90s,
right? God, Lincoln. And their design is so hideous. Like I've never seen like a modern Lincoln and been like, that doesn't look like dog shit. I can't even bring myself to give it that kind of a review.
Or there's what's this? All right. Matthew McConaughey. He.
Oh God, I remember.
Does he have one from the commercials? Maybe.
Yeah, he was
the new Lincoln.
Which was the Lincoln lawyer, right?
It was the Lincoln lawyer, and he has or had a spot doing Lincoln ads. I can't tell you the last time I've seen a Lincoln ad.
When
I was on board. I was on board with the new Lincoln, and then it just like that, it was gone. Right.
When was the last good-looking Lincoln? Would you say the LS?
LS was good.
Yeah.
I didn't this newest one with like the weird like belt trim door handles. I didn't hate that. That's the newest one that came out, I think like 2017. And they made like an extra long version that had suicide doors in the rear, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's
question, right?
Which sucks. Yeah, because you even go back to like the end run Panther platform cars. Those were not pretty.
Nope. They're the Mark whatever series. Those were always weird looking, kind of interesting.
Blackwood.
The pickup that wasn't
the Blackwood
wasn't 4-wheel drive.
Wasn't 4-wheel drive. The bed wasn't really a bed. It was just like a big ass trunk. There's the Blackwood, or the Mark LT. I don't know. Should we save Lincoln one day?
I think we'll put that on the schedule for 2020, maybe 2024, maybe coming up soon. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
They need it, but I don't know. I don't know, man. But how about some cars that people shouldn't buy that get purchased way too often?
I'd hate to say this because I think it's a car that on paper is really good, but in execution isn't.
Oh, okay.
And these do very well. And I think if you were to be like, this would probably is on every, I'm going to say 40-year-old suburban woman's shopping list, like their short list. That would be like a brand new, fully optioned Subaru Outback. And because it's like it's got a higher seating position, so you've got that kind of command position that feels safe, and they have by all accounts they are safe, right? You've got eyesight, and they do good in crash tests. And Subaru, that's a Japanese company. It's going to be reliable, and the materials on those are actually pretty decent, and it has all-wheel drive. I want to be safe. I drive to the snow once every 7 years, so I need all-wheel drive, and it occasionally rains. And like you add all of that up, and it's like a very appealing thing for someone to buy, and like that makes a lot of sense. However, Subaru reliability, I think, and this comes from some I've owned Subarus and I like them.
Hmm.
It's a kind of a mirage. Um, Even in the newer stuff, right? Like between eating up CVT transmissions and the continued saga of head gaskets and questionable dealers looking to cover stuff or not cover stuff under warranty, and
Mhm.
um, uh, let alone RTV getting sucked up into oil pumps and stuff. So there's the reliability, I think, is specious as far as being able to call something reliable. They look nice enough.
Mhm.
They're a decent size, but they don't quite do the SUV thing. All-wheel drive is overrated for the extreme majority of use cases for people. And if you've ever spent any time with anything with eyesight, that system is fine, but it's totally over invasive.
Yeah, I owned a 2015 Forester XT
Mhm.
when they first came out, and
Did it have eyesight?
I had eyesight, had it was everything. It was loaded. So the XT Grand Touring, so it was like
Mhm.
leather, like sunroof, the eyesight package. The CVT was really good. One of the best CVTs I've
Interesting.
ever had. Yeah, it actually simulates 6 gears, which is kind of
Mhm.
cool. That was a good car. It was
It
fast.
did
It's
it did
fast
okay.
too. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, they're held their value. Those are still pretty
Mhm.
valuable. I think they're around like
Yeah.
20K now still.
I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, what's one that like it's going to be something that people buy and it's just like you don't need
Yeah.
it, you don't want.
So
Probably some SUV.
I think it's kids, younger people tend to fall for this. They chase those badges like
Mhm.
BMWs. They'll get like a regular 3 Series, pay way too much, get on a shitty, it'll be used, so out of warranty,
Mhm.
one of the most expensive BMWs you can ever own.
Yep.
And they'll go ahead and get it from one of those your job is your credit kind of places.
Buy here, pay
They'll
here.
get some interest, 20% interest rate. And then the first thing they do is cut springs, put shitty rims on it, black out all the lights, and
Mhm.
there goes the value, right? So when they have
Yeah.
to get rid of that car, they're not going to get anything for it, but that's one of the worst like investments. And I think it's people trying to get a car that they think projects like an image, and they put all their effort and all their money into this car, and it ends up driving around with like every check engine warning light on because they can't keep up with the maintenance required with those cars. Because even a regular 3 Series is going to have way more maintenance than, say, that Subaru, for example.
Yeah.
And if you fall
For
the
sure.
thing with that, if you fall behind, you get into real bad territory, right? Like some of those
Mhm.
minor issues become major issues, and then you're upside down on a car that looks all hacked up and garbagey and is literally like what's in, go get an automatic 328 with 200,000 miles on it that has mismatched bodies, rims lowered.
Yep.
What is that car worth? $2,000 on its best day ever? It's
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah. Yeah, and it's leaking out of
Valueless.
every,
Yeah.
the maintenance has been deferred because it's so expensive to maintain, and so it's PCV system hasn't been touched in 100,000 miles, so it's pushing oil out of every oil seal, and it's not what you want. But it's
I
what
think
people want,
But
which
I
is
think
kind
that's
of
it. I think that's those are the cars that you don't want. Like people think they want it and
mm,
people go for it. It happens all the time. You ever look over and see like a younger person that's just like in a BMW or Mercedes, and I just want to see that gauge cluster because I want to see the Christmas tree. You just
mhm.
absolutely know, you can hear the engine ticking like unbelievably loudly. I think that's where big mistakes are made when people chase those badges and pay way too much and then just don't maintain them. I think that's scary.
You know what is that, but is kind of at a different level, right? Is all the people, say 18 months ago, that rolled into a dealership and paid $150,000 markup and financed that on like a new G Wagon, right? Like a basic, like a G550 or G63.
Yep.
And like, oh yeah, I'm getting a new G Wagon. And yeah, it's like $175,000. But then I pay another 150K, 170K of ADM on top of that. Just pure madness.
It's insane.
Um, and yeah, maybe that was stolen PPP money or whatever. Like they stole the pipes out of their grandpa's walls and recycled it or whatever they did to get the coin to pull that bullshit off. Like crypto bros. But I can't even imagine paying that when people were paying those enormous ADMs, or they were paying the huge ADMs on electric stuff. And a lot of like, you look at like an Audi e-tron or a Porsche Taycan. I'm seeing ones that were stickering at like 240,000 plus ADM on top. And the values on them now, like 2 years later, under 100 grand.
Yep.
Just colossal collapse between like G-Wagons and electric stuff. Like, and that's just in the value, let alone the hit on the ADM that they paid on top that went out the door the moment they drove that off the lot. Like, I don't get it. I mean, we're both car people, but we're like kind of cheap asses when it comes to buying cars.
Very much a cheap ass. Completely.
So I can't fathom paying ADM, but like,
God, no.
yeah, the value drop on some of this stuff that it is coming right around the corner, just absolutely immense.
Yep.
Just on paper losses. There's just, I don't. Plus, you got to maintain it and insure it and all that stuff beyond that. It's wild, man.
Yeah, it's and you know, just kind of similar to what I said before. Like another vehicle non-car people go for are like these luxury vehicles that have depreciated. That's one of the top things we all know. Like a high-end vehicle. Let's say those G-Wagons right now. Say you score a G-Wagon for $25K. That thing's maintenance is still priced at the MSRP, right? So the parts you're going to have to buy. You just got to expect that markup. If you're going to take it to a shop to get serviced, you know you're going to get charged like that thing's still MSRP. So I think that's another thing. Non-car people go for those cars, not expecting, because they don't know. Maybe they don't know. They're not mechanically inclined, or they're not thinking far ahead. But even though they got a screaming deal, those screaming deals still have those associated maintenance costs with what an expensive version of that vehicle would cost. So I think that's another thing that non-car people do. Like, I know we're talking about shitty cars just to get point A to B, but sometimes you can get something even worse than something boring like a kit, right?
Yeah, you get that 05 Bentley Continental GT, right? Because it's cool, the W12 and all that, and then instantly it will BK you, like just immediately bitch slap you to the ground. It's like, oh, I bought it for 40 grand or 35 or 30. It's like, it will kill you. Like, you will get buried in that thing.
Like even more commonplace, going and buying like an old BMW X5 with high mileage, no maintenance record. Like you can get upside down so fucking quick in that $5,000 SUV with the BMW badge on it.
Yeah, let alone the hybridy ones, or where you're just like, there's going to be some hybrid, active hybrid, like, or diesel, right? Where some of those diesels were, people who are diesel, they just for whatever reason assume everything is a 12 valve Cummins motor, and it's like, oh, it's a diesel, you can put 300,000 miles on these. And a lot of those, when's the last time you saw a decent like 335D driving around?
You see them and they tend to be lower mileage, which is the funny thing.
Yeah, and they just they're just broken perpetually. And so but guess what? Those cars are still getting moved. People are still buying them. People are still making the bad mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I'm speaking about like, oh, these cars are unreliable and you shouldn't buy them. And like, how long has the hood been up in the car in the background right here?
But you kind of knew that getting into it.
Oh, I absolutely knew it. And I'm over it at this point. So boy. Yes. So just be good to those not car people in your lives, and shepherd them good advice. Figure out what their needs are. Are they the peacocker? Like, do they want to peacock? Get them away from that Maserati Ghibli. Get them into something not a Maserati.
Don't pull them into the shitbox fold, but help them, give them the common culprits like we start off with. I think that's a good place to start. I don't think you need to spend a lot to have a reliable car, but you can definitely buy a very nice luxury car for a very low price and be very upside down. So I think you got to be really careful about that. And the original MSRP still matters.
Yeah, the $160,000 car new still thinks it's a $160,000 car 15 years later, and it still have the same care and feeding. So, that's rules to live by. Speaking of rules,
hey, now we have some rules.
I think we've got. We're not quite an Outback Steakhouse where there's no rules, just right. We do have some rules here.
That's a blooming onion, mate.
Definitely, yeah, or the freaking tomato. The what we can do is quiz upon each other. The way this will happen is Chadwick here is going to pull up an automotive print advertisement. This is going to be from the 80s, 90s to the mid 2000s. He's going to read that type copy, the print copy that's in this ad. It will then be incumbent on me within 3 guesses to guess the make, model, and ballpark the year of manufacture of this specific vehicle mentioned in this ad. If I get some misses, I get to ask for guesses. I get 10 minutes once Chadwick is done reading this. We call this our print ad quiz game. You got a repertoire there of fastballs to throw my way. You got something fun?
I got a good one for you, buddy. So this is a single pager, vehicle driver front 3/4 moving at a good clip. Driver is wearing a helmet.
Oh, okay.
In the car. So here you go.
Safety first.
Yep. It says the name of the model at the top, and it goes, "Don't step on the gas unless you mean it."
Oh boy. Okay.
Purpose: to put pavement scorching performance within reach of every driver who can handle it. Car in point, blank, imported for blank, and built by blank. So good hint there.
Okay.
0 to 50 in 5.78 seconds.
578. Okay.
That's to 50. Now, while you're rereading blank's acceleration number in wide-eyed amazement, I saw your eyes widen there, Frank. Let us remind you that there's much more to blank than a blank. Blank is equipped to give you all the fun, the great handling, and the looks that should go along with its kind of acceleration. It rolls on, I'll say the tires, Michelin XVS 165/70 13s.
Ooh, okay.
Which will help you out a little bit. With non-linear high control springs, solid front and rear stabilizer bars, 0.79 inch up front, 0.57 inch out back. This is some tech specs. Heavy duty transmission and clutch, and front gas-filled shocks. Read that as you will. Front air dam, rear spoiler, tachometer. Okay, this is just random shit.
I like it. Give it to me.
Check out the rest of Blank stats and go grab hold of one at your local Blank dealer. Okay, here's the vital statistics line.
Okay.
Acceleration, they're going to say it again. This is the weirdest thing, dude. 0 to 50, 5.78 seconds. Engine, 1.6 liter turbocharged, electronically controlled, injected 4-cylinder. Power, I'll give you the power. 102 horsepower at 5,500 RPM.
Okay.
They did power to weight ratio, if you want to figure out the curb weight, 19.77 pounds per horsepower. Torque is 122 pound-feet at 3,000 RPM. And that's all I got for you. That was more specs than I think we've ever read in an ad.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty. Did we got a phone number?
We don't.
For a dealership near me. Oh boy.
That's it. Now that's a purpose is what the tagline is at the bottom. So you have a lot of good stuff there, Frank. I gave it away that this is a, built by somebody, different badge thing, but you have some stuff to work on. Let me get my phone. 10 minutes starts right now.
Okay. 1.6 turbo. I don't remember what like a Dodge Omni GLH. I don't remember if that's the one. I don't remember the displacement of that. I don't think that's what we're working with here. The power number is not right. The displacement is, but the power number and the size of the wheel is not correct for a 323 GTX, and no mention of all-wheel drive. So I'm thinking we're punting on that. Could it be? So there was I didn't hear a door count. It's got a spoiler. For some reason, what's popping into my head, and I don't know if they made a captive import version of this. I know the Chevrolet Spectrum was a captive import of the Isuzu iMark, I think, right? In which they made a diesel, and there was an iMark. I don't remember if they called it the RS or the Turbo or the Turbo RS. And so I want to say they made a Chevrolet Spectrum Turbo, I think. And I think the displacement checks, the turbo checks. I'm gonna take my first just flail in the dark,
Mm.
and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say I don't know, 102 horsepower, not a ton. This isn't a Chevrolet Sprint Turbo because I think that was under 100. I'm gonna go Chevrolet Spectrum Turbo. Call it a 1989. Final answer, Bob.
You are definitely not stepping on the gas this time because
Hmm.
you didn't get the right vehicle, my friend.
Okay.
I would do horrible things for one of those iMark RSs. God, they
Right.
look good, dude.
Did they
God, they
make a
look good.
Spectrum version?
I think they made us. I think they
The
made a
spec
Spectrum
the
Turbo, but I
Spectrum
don't.
was the Spectrum was the iMark, right? I'm not messing that up.
I think you are right on that one. I'd
Okay.
have to triple check, but I think you're right. But this is not that vehicle. How can I help you out here?
Um,
You're in the right horsepower range, 100%, because that's what that was.
yeah, there was that. Maybe it might have been more. Maybe it was like 115 or 112 or something for the iMark.
Potentially.
So 1.6 with a turbo.
Mhm.
Um, badge engineered. The 13-inch, and you know what? I think that Spectrum Turbo that late it wouldn't have been a 13-inch wheel. This has got to be um I don't think this is the Chevy Sprint Turbo. Um, although the wheel size is about right. The the Mopar captive import stuff would have been Mitsubishi's, which there was, I believe, a 1.6 turbo. What was that? That was like the 4G61T, maybe.
Correct. Yeah.
But then what would have that have been? Could it be the Omni GLH? Or there was one other one. Damn it, Bobby. It's tough. You know what? The Mopar world is tough because they had their in-house, right? With the 2.2 and the 2.5. And the 1.6 would have had to have been Mitsubishi, which would have been Chrysler. So anything that would have had worn a 13-inch wheel, I'm gonna call this a 1984 Dodge Omni or Plymouth Omni. We'll go Dodge Omni GLH, not the S, just the GLH. Um, Final answer, Bob.
So it doesn't go some more, is what you're trying to tell
It
me?
does not go some more. Go some less.
It is not a Dodge Omni, and I believe the Plymouth
Okay.
was the Horizon, was the
Right.
version of the Plymouth.
Horizon. Yep.
And I believe those came with 2.2 turbos.
Those were the two. Okay.
And you could get a 2.2 NA also, which was interesting for the GLH.
Right.
You have just under 5 minutes to spare.
Okay.
What can I do to help you get there, man?
Let's see. Um, can I would it be too much to ask for a door count? Or is it too aggressive?
I could give you're on the guest 3. I could give you door count.
Okay. 2 doors. Okay. 2 doors. It didn't mention anything of a convertible. So it's not like Capri ZX2 or XR.
Boy, what if I tell you? What if I tell you? Okay, a little help here. Depending on the nameplate, the manufacturer, this could be a 2-door or a 4-door.
Hmm.
Bam.
Depending on the nameplate. Could be a 2-door or a 4-door.
Mhm.
1.6. I don't.
But this ad is specifically the 2-door.
Sure. Boy. that horsepower number, it's so not anything.
You're also like dead on for time period. So you're right. Anything turbo making
with
100 horsepower.
on 13s.
Yeah, it has to be.
On 70 series 13s,
Right.
165s. Two-door. I don't know. Were there any Ford captive imports that were like an EXP or something? I don't think that's quite where we're at. That would have been a 1.6 captive import. Because like the Escort GT was the Mazda 1.6, but that was NA and it was like 123 horsepower or something. That's a little bit later. The 13th. It's got to be. Like, what shit heap was this? On in a two-door. Oh boy.
2-minute warning, my friend.
Yeah, this isn't like a Mercury Lynx. All the GMs.
You're gonna kick yourself for this one.
I'm gonna kick myself square
in the giblets.
In the gentleman hoo-ha. There was no.
It did say front. I know there was a build shock, so it means it only has independent in the front.
Yeah. All the GM stuff was from Isuzu. At least that was a turbo. Killer radio right here. Riveting.
1 minute for me.
The Mopar stuff. Like, was there a domestic version of like a Cordia turbo or a Tredia? I don't think there was. God, I'm gonna say
Hail Mary.
I'm gonna Hail Mary this, and it's gonna be wrong. I'm gonna call this like an 85 Ford EXP turbo, which I think that was pretty much all domestic parts, but it's a two-door. It was cheap. It could have had a Mazda 1.6 in it for like a couple of years that I'm just not bringing it in. So I'm going to be wrong here, but I'm just going to take my L, lick my wounds. Ford EXP turbo, it's circa 1985. Final answer, Bob.
I really liked all the vehicles you chose, Frank, but that is not the answer.
Son of a bitch.
You're going to kind of be let down on this one. So it's what if I was to tell you it was imported for Dodge and Plymouth, built by Mitsubishi?
Okay.
This is the Dodge Turbo Colt, the little cute hatchback.
The Colt, okay.
1.6 liter turbo.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely it. I just, for whatever reason, I was thinking I was only putting the Omni there, and it's Turbo Colt.
And they later had a 4-door Plymouth Colt, which was kind of cool. Same engine, same everything, except they added a 4-door sedan to it, which is kind of neat. But these things were super cool. Like the Omni looked a lot like it, but the Omni was not an import. The Omni was actually built by Dodge. And
how did I forget the Colt, man? Probably all that
glue, Mitsubishi car, right? Like
yeah. It's, I knew it was a Mitsubishi. I just and of the era, I just, for whatever reason, the Colt didn't pop into my head. And like, now, what's bizarre is that the Omni and the Colt like were kind of shared the same bed, so to speak. Like they were available around the same time.
Very different cars. Yeah,
they are, but they're not. I mean,
the Colt, like the Colt was a lot smaller. I think the Omni weighed a bit more. It had the 2.2, but with that 2.2 turbo, it definitely put out a lot more. I think at the end of the GLHS, I think had the 174, 180 horsepower, which is a significant difference.
World champion of torque steer.
And I think they had different suspension setups. I think they were completely different cars. If you put them side by side, they look very different. But yeah, the old Dodge Turbo Colt. Speak about a car that would be I don't think this is a shit box. I would totally kill to have a clean one of these.
Dodge Colt. Let's look on Facebook Marketplace. Are there any?
They're not. They don't.
Are there any around? Let's see.
I look every week, my friend.
Ooh, there's a Plymouth Laser. No, here's a Daytona Shelby Z. Get that one. You've owned one of those.
I know everything that's on there. I know Marketplace.
Yes. But yeah,
good,
I should have gotten that.
effort, my friend. I think you should.
Really.
I really thought you were going to rip right off the start when I said the captive import part, and
I know I should have had
so many tech specs.
Man, I
It's okay.
I have to do fewer hallucinogens, I suppose. I don't.
Cool car, nonetheless. I'm actually surprised we haven't touched this one. This is like a little before the Mitsubishi heyday we celebrate, but I think this was an awesome Mitsubishi product, and it was really at the beginning of that whole Dodge Mitsubishi kind of like love each other event, and super cool car.
Which died in Normal, Illinois.
It did.
Yeah, very cool, very fun. It'd be cool to see like a decent one. And boy. How about indecent ones? Have you been working indecently on any of your automotive machinery over there, sir? Have you been doing some project car progress and making some?
Yeah, some PCP in the garage. The big thing was I'm working on that Blazer, the S10 Blazer, the 2-door manual. And the issue with it is it's having transmission issues, and it ended up being the trans had some broken componentry. That you cannot source that transmission. I've been trying to source one. For some reason, it's very specific to that application. So I think I found a shop that'll actually rebuild it. It's just waiting for that slot to get it into that shop. And unfortunately, that's going to be pricier. I was hoping I could score like a reliable junkyard one and just like put a new clutch and flywheel in it, but that's not going to be the case. So we'll see how much damage that's going to be. That's a kind of a setback, but that comes with these kind of things, right? That comes with the territory. Sometimes you go to check out a car and it's like, it could be just a broken clutch or a clutch fork or something simple. And sometimes it ends up being a pain in the butthole.
A complete pain in the ball sack. Yeah.
That's the case with that. I'm still doing some work on the NX 2000. Those two cars are probably going to get wrapped up in the not too distant future. But another part of my PCP I want to bring up is, Frank, I saw a really cool car in the wild. I kind of lost my shit. And my wife was like, why are you so excited about that Passat? It was a Volkswagen Phaeton, but W12, which you almost never see driving around, my man. No. Middle-aged guy, a little older. I guess we're middle-aged now. Fuck, a little older now.
Yeah, right.
Black Phaeton. It was in premium shit. I mean, like complete luster to the paint, no dents. Just cruising with a W12 all-wheel drive Phaeton, like it was like his normal car.
Dude, I mean, why wouldn't it be?
So fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, those are baller.
I usually see the W8s, and I think W12s are actually super small percentage of an already low like production car. So
yeah, were those like 2-year only?
I don't know, but I know they were very low production numbers. Yeah,
like just exceedingly uncommon.
Literally,
those are cool.
Yeah, not going to like a Cars and Coffee, like literally coming home from his work commute. I mean, that is a kind of a cool secret car to pick as your commute car.
Yeah, and like, what a bad idea.
What a horrible idea.
By Volkswagen.
Maybe it's low mileage. Maybe he's going to fucking die soon. He doesn't, I don't know the whole story.
No, I mean, just like Volkswagen actually putting that car to market was just like a brutally bad idea.
But also like maintenance wise, if that engine shits the bed, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's an Audi like A8, but with like shittier components.
Super cool to see. But how about you, man?
Oh yeah, cool. So I teased last episode about how I now have a 924 that won't start. So here's how it went down. It hopefully and thankfully it's not terribly dramatic, but prepping for the Breakfast Club rally, the BCR rally, and the oil hadn't been changed in that car since I got it. Okay.
Oh,
and
bastard.
Yeah, and so okay, if I'm gonna go drive it on a driving rally, I need to do the oil. I've had no time to do it. I have the oil, I have the filter, no time to do it. Right down the street from me, like a block and a half, is a well-regarded drive-through oil change facility. Not a Jiffy Lube, not a whatever, quick and I don't know, quick and dirty, whatever you want to call it. A fairly well-regarded drive-through place. So look, Very easy. Like I can like drain, fill, filter, right? Layup. Here's the part. Good parts. Nice oil. They do their thing, right? I go to um I go to start it when I go to leave and nothing. I turn the key, nothing. I'm like, what the fuck? They're like, oh, I don't know. We didn't do anything. I was like sitting in the car the whole time, right?
Hmm.
And they go, okay. So then I try to fires right up. Okay. Don't know what that was. I don't maybe I wasn't quite on the clutch all the way, neutral safety switch. I don't know.
Weird.
Whatever. Start up, drive it home. Right. I get up at 6 a.m. the next morning to go and take it on the rally. Okay. Nothing. Turn the key, nothing. I sit there like 30 times. Power's on, but doesn't even attempt to engage the starter.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, all right, what do these assholes do? So I start poking around and I look, and so on the block, you've got the exhaust manifold coming off the side of the head, going down the side of the block.
Mm-hmm.
Right under that is the oil filter.
Yep.
Directly behind that is the starter.
Oh, I know what happened.
They managed to somehow, some way, just yoink the signal wire going to the starter solenoid, like on the starter itself, pop it off while swapping out that filter.
But it literally that because that wire, I remember seeing that before too. Is that wire breaks down over time too? That's another known issue with that car. But I know the way they route that wire. I've heard that. I think someone posted on a forum one time, like that the oil change did the exact same thing. Yeah,
son of a bitch. Okay, well that must have been the same here because it was, and so I can barely get my hand like weaseled up in there just in front of my house, and like the sun is barely coming up. It's like 6 a.m. and I can get my hand onto the wire, and it just like press fits onto. It's just like a press on.
Yep.
Terminal. So I can barely get it. I can't quite get it to where it presses on. I'm barely able to get it to like make just contact. Barely rest and make contact. So I fight with it for like 20 minutes and I can barely get it there. And I go over there and I vroom, fires right up, runs. Okay. I can't turn it off now. I'm about to go on this rally. I just from whatever it was, 6:30 in the morning when I got it up and running until when I got home at like 2:00 in the afternoon, 2 p.m. I never shut the car off.
That's fucking crazy.
Because even if I can just go and like, I just assumed it wasn't going to maintain contact just starting. It would just rattle off, of course.
Yeah, or you hit a bump. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like I had to like squeeze my hand between the block and the exhaust manifold. There's no way I'm going to do that now because it's boiling ass hot. I'd have to let it sit for 5 hours. So all right, let's go. I'm not going to not go on the rally. Like I'm just going to go and hope I don't stall it out or hope it doesn't start to run hot and I have to like do whatever. And no, it was great. It ran hard the whole time. I pulled up to the parking lot. I had it sitting idle in the parking lot for like an hour and 15 minutes before like everyone left and people were walking around. Why is this car running? I'm like, it's a story. Don't worry about it. I did the whole day great. Drove home. I pulled it in front of the house. I shut it off. I go, all right, let's see. Nothing. I turned it, nothing. So yeah, if I had shut it off, I would have been stranded.
Are you gonna take that oil filter off to get to it easier?
I think if I get like a long pair of like long needle noses.
Yeah, with a little angle bend at the end.
Yeah, I think I can get it without undoing all that. Very annoying. And that's what I get. That's what I get for like not finding the time to just do it myself.
15 minutes, Frank. 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, the mechanical maintenance gods bit me. They got back. They got back for me taunting them.
All you did is delay your PCP is all you did in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yep. So now it's still, I haven't had an opportunity to get it, push it back on there, but I'll do that. It's easy enough, but annoying. And that's it.
Nice. Well, let's, as we close this episode out on a sad story of not doing PCP at the right time. When is a good time to do PCP? Anytime.
Yeah, it's like when pizza's on a bagel, you can have pizza anytime. It's very similar.
It's quite similar. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining us again. another Pointless Automotive Podcast, APA
That's us.
podcast, also known as. Check us out if you're not watching us. You can follow us on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. It's every episode, and we put some cool graphics in there. Pretty fun time. But keep listening to it wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to rank and review us. We do like to get that. Well, that helps us with the rankings. But if you give us reviews, it gives us good feedback. Send us questions if you want to see something covered on a podcast episode. We definitely would take any topics you guys
we're running out, man. Hook it up.
That'd be super awesome. Feel free to do that, and you can do that at our Instagram, which is a good place to reach us. We will start posting. I think we post like once a week if you're lucky.
No, we're like once a month at this rate.
really?
But yeah, guilt us into it. Come like grill us. Make like horrible comments to the point where like you're just grilling us for our lack of participation, and we'll see if we can crank that up.
That's exactly it. But yeah, we appreciate any feedback, and thanks again for listening to us and spending your valuable time doing something very not valuable, listening to us. Frank, personally, where can the good folks follow you?
Oh boy, just lurking the streets in the middle of the night, usually barefoot, covered in some sort of oil. Also, the Photographer's Garage, mostly Instagram and YouTube, just posting stuff up of cars that are for sale that usually aren't mine because I'm bad at selling my own cars. How about you, Chad to the Wick?
Yeah, same thing. You can follow me top barefoot, if you will.
Oh boy.
Auto Obsessive Garage. You can follow me on YouTube. Rescues, restorations, and reviews. You can follow me on Instagram. Same name, Auto Obsessive Garage. And that's pretty much it. Again, guys, thanks for joining us. We love you so much, and we will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.